guarded his house for him. The house in which he lived consisted, as we have said, of a ground floor, and 1 story above, 3 rooms on the ground floor, 3 chambers on the first, and an attic above. Behind the house was a garden, 1/4 of an acre in extent. The 2 women occupied the first floor, the bishop was lodged below. The first room, opening on the street, served him as dining room, the second was his bedroom, and the third his oratory. There was no exit possible from this oratory, except by passing through the bedroom, nor from the bedroom, without passing through the dining room. At the end of the suite, in the oratory, there was a detached alcove with a bed, for use in cases of hospitality. The bishop offered this bed to country curates whom business or the requirements of their parishes brought to D. The pharmacy of the hospital, a small building which had been added to the house, and abutted on the garden, had been transformed into a kitchen and cellar. In addition to this, there was in the garden a stable, which had formerly been the kitchen of the hospital, and in which the bishop kept 2 cows. No matter what the quantity of milk they gave, he invariably sent half of it every morning to the sick people in the hospital.
"I am paying my tithes," he said. His bedroom was tolerably large, and rather difficult to warm in bad weather. As wood is extremely dear at D, he hit upon the idea of having a compartment of boards constructed in the cowshed. Here he passed his evenings during seasons of severe cold. He called it his winter salon. In this winter salon, as in the dining room, there was no other furniture than a square table in white wood, and 4 straw-seated chairs. In addition to this, the dining room was ornamented with an antique sideboard, painted pink, in watercolors. Out of a similar sideboard, properly draped with white napery and imitation lace, the bishop had constructed the altar which decorated his oratory.
His wealthy penitents and the sainted women of D had more than once assessed themselves to raise the money for a new altar for Monseigneur's oratory. On each occasion he had taken the money and had given it to the poor. "The most beautiful of altars," he said, "is the soul of an unhappy creature, consoled and thanking God." In his oratory there were 2 straw prie-dieu, and there was an armchair, also in straw, in his bedroom. When, by chance, he received 7 or 8 persons at one time, the prefect, or the general, or the staff of the regiment in garrison, or several pupils from the little seminary, the chairs had to be fetched from the winter salon in the stable, the prie-dieu from the oratory, and the armchair from the bedroom. In this way as many as 11 chairs could be collected for the visitors. A room was dismantled for each new guest.
It sometimes happened that there were 12 in the party. The bishop then relieved the embarrassment of the situation by standing in front of the chimney if it was winter, or by strolling in the garden if it was summer. There was still another chair in the detached alcove, but the straw was half gone from it, and it had but 3 legs, so that it was of service only when propped against the wall. Mademoiselle Baptistine had also in her own room a very large easy chair of wood, which had formerly been gilded, and which was covered with flowered pecan, but they had been obliged to hoist this berger up to the first story through the window, as the staircase was too narrow. It could not, therefore, be reckoned among the possibilities in the way of furniture.
Mademoiselle Baptistine's ambition had been to be able to purchase a set of drawing-room furniture in yellow Utrecht velvet, stamped with a rose pattern, and with mahogany in swan's neck style, with a sofa. But this would have cost 500 francs at least, and in view of the fact that she had only been able to lay by 42 francs and 10 sous for this purpose in the course of 5 years, she had ended by renouncing the idea. However, who is there who has attained his ideal? Nothing is more easy to present to the imagination than the bishop's bedchamber. A glazed door opened on the garden. Opposite this was the bed, a hospital bed of iron, with a canopy of green serge. In the shadow of the bed, behind a curtain, were the utensils of the toilet, which still betrayed the elegant habits of the man of the world. There were 2 doors, one near the chimney, opening into the oratory, the other near the bookcase, opening into the dining room. The bookcase was a large cupboard with glass doors filled with books. The chimney was of wood painted to represent marble, and habitually without fire. In the chimney stood a pair of firedogs of iron, ornamented above with 2 garlanded vases, and flutings which had formerly been silvered with silver leaf, which was a sort of episcopal luxury. Above the chimney-piece hung a crucifix of copper, with the silver worn off, fixed on a background of threadbare velvet in a wooden frame from which the gilding had fallen. Near the glass door a large table with an inkstand, loaded with a confusion of papers and with huge volumes. Before the table an armchair of straw, in front of the bed a prie-dieu, borrowed from the oratory.
2 portraits in oval frames were fastened to the wall on each side of the bed. Small gilt inscriptions on the plain surface of the cloth at the side of these figures indicated that the portraits represented, one the Abbé of Caliot, Bishop of St. Claude, the other, the Abbé Tourteau, Vicar General of Agde, Abbé of Grandchamp, Order of Citeaux, Diocese of Chartres. When the bishop succeeded to this apartment, after the hospital patients, he had found these portraits there, and had left them. They were priests, and probably donors, 2 reasons for respecting them. All that he knew about these 2 persons was, that they had been appointed by the king, the one to his bishopric, the other to his benefice, on the same day, the 27th of April 1785. Madame Magloire having taken the pictures down to dust, the bishop had discovered these particulars written in whitish ink on a little square of paper, yellowed by time, and attached to the back of the portrait of the Abbé of Grandchamp with 4 wafers.